I make mistakes all the time, and I've been speaking Japanese now for, weirdly, over 40 years. And I've even been married to a Japanese woman for over 30 of those years, and she doesn't really speak English, so we speak Japanese every single day. But even with all of that, I'm not even embarrassed to tell you about the mistake that I made recently. I actually can't wait to tell you what I learned recently because of this mistake.
1, 2, 3, let's learn Japanese. 6, 7, 8, it's never too late. Japanese from 0. Fluent in 5, where we take 5 minutes out of your day and teach you Japanese.
The last video in the Fluent in 5 series was about a relatively basic grammar, and I analyzed some YouTubers using that grammar, and it turns out I made a mistake on one of them. You didn't see that mistake because I removed it from the video right before release. You see, when I make videos, I always run the final version of it by my wife. And with this one, she told me I was completely wrong with my analysis of one of those videos. So I cut it. But would it be good if just I learned from my mistake? No, no, no. You also must learn from my mistake. My analysis was so wrong, but yet that made it so fun, and it gives us a cool learning point. So that's what we're gonna do in this video today. So here's the original video and the video analysis that I made after it. Once that's done, I'll explain what really happened.
ラーメンは何が好きですか？ラーメンはそら豚骨ラーメンでしょうたい。
初代。
ラーメンの種類聞くなら豚骨ラーメン以外中でしょたい。味噌ラーメンも好きですけど。
ラーメンは何が好きですか? The obvious answer here would be and should be miso ramen, the best ramen ever. His answer is ラーメンはおそらく豚骨ラーメンでしょうたい. おそらく means most likely, but he says 豚骨 ramen is his favorite. He likes pig bone ramen. But let's be honest, that's just a weaker version of miso. It's what you order when the ramen place doesn't have miso. It's not that great, honestly. If you're curious as to what deshotai means, he's just being funny. Shotai means invitation, and he's subtly suggesting that he be invited out to ramen. And then he says, ramen no shirui o kiku nara. If you're going to ask about the type of ramen, tonkotsu ramen igai naka deshotai. He does that shotai joke again, saying there is no other ramen other than tonkotsu ramen, pig bone ramen. And then of course he adds, miso ramen mo suki desu kedo. Of course, I also like miso ramen. Of course he does, it's the best. It turns out he wasn't saying anything about an invitation, but instead making an attempt to sound like he was speaking Hakata dialect. If you didn't know, once you get away from Tokyo, you're going to encounter Japanese dialects. In the north, you'll hear Tsugaru-ben, and in areas around Osaka, you'll hear Kansai-ben. And if you go to Okinawa, you'll actually hear a completely different language, not even considered a dialect, but an entire language called Uchinaguchi. So some of you have never heard Hakata dialect, so let's hear it right now. Here's a YouTuber explaining to his viewers about his Hakata dialect.
だって博多弁喋っとう以上、僕はやっぱ、ほとんどのやつから思われんちゃけど、一定数、やっぱお前ビジネスでブランディングで博多弁使ってんじゃねえのみたいな、やっぱ言われることあるわけよ。結構やっぱ方言強いし、俺って。でも普通に福岡ってこうっちゃんね。帰ってきてすぐは、マジで俺イントネーション強いと思う。バリ博多弁寄りになっとうと思う。
Let's watch someone much more qualified than me explain this particular part of the Hakata dialect.
あとはそういう意味で言うとなんとかだよっていう語尾ですね。で、なんとかばいとか、なんとかったいとか、なんとかっちゃん、なんとかやけんって言います。はい。まあ、こういうのは全部に使うっていうわけではなくて、その時のシチュエーションによって使い分けされます。のでちょっと難しいかもしれないんですけど、
で語尾になんちゃらばいとかなんちゃらたいって使うこともあります。例えば
そうばいみたいな、
そうばいって
なんかそうよみたいなのをそうばいみたいな
言ったり、
運動会いつやったっけみたいなのを今日たいみたいな、
てか明日たいとかそういうやつ、
そんな感じじゃない。
My wife is actually from Himeji and speaks Kansai dialect. With me, however, she sticks with standard Japanese or what they call Hyojungo. However, after phone calls with her mother, she often becomes completely Kansai dialect. Or when she's in Japan like she is now, everything she says is Kansai dialect. And also when she's having conversations with my daughters who are also fluent Japanese, she tends to speak a lot more Kansai dialect. I assume that this is because in her brain, speaking from a mother's perspective is going to be in Kansai dialect, since that's what her mother did. And since when we got married, I didn't know any Kansai dialect, it just made sense that she would speak standard Japanese to me because I didn't understand. And that just became how we speak. Although after 30 years, there's a ton more Kansai dialect being used between us now. I tend to speak Kansai dialect to her as well now. So you might be wondering why this man, when he was asked what type of ramen he liked, he started speaking in Hakata dialect. And that's because tonkotsu ramen originates from Hakata. So he added something that makes his language sound like Hakata Ben, and that is that Thai thing. So he was saying desho. He was saying tonkotsu ramen desho Thai to sound like he was from Hakata. He could have also added bai, apparently. He could have said tonkotsu ramen desho bai, I guess. The thing is, dialects are actually a huge part of Japanese. Like 1/6 of Japan speaks Kansai dialect. And dialects surrounding the Kansai area also share commonalities with Kansai dialect. To the untrained ear like myself, sometimes it even sounds like that. Personally, parts of Hakata dialect sound exactly like Kansai dialect. So if you move to Japan, you will encounter dialects. And if you asked me, hey George, what dialect should I learn to make sure I get the most coverage? I would say Kansai dialect. And I'm not saying that just because we offer it on FromZero.com. Absolutely included with the membership that you get. Used to be $150, but now it's included with the membership. But instead of me telling you about it, how about me from 5 years ago tells you about it? Hello everyone, it's George Trombley with Japanese from Zero, and today I want to talk to you about something that you might not know about. Did you know that there is a huge dialect in Japan called Kansai dialect? It's important because over 1/6 of the population of Japan, or 20 million people, use this dialect. If you go to the Osaka area, Kyoto area, anywhere near and around like Nara, Osaka, these areas, many people will use this dialect that if you were there, according to one person, sounds like Chinese because they've never learned it. That was Japanese. It's Kansai dialect. It's a completely different sounding language with different words, different phrases, and even different verbs and different endings. So, if it's not taught in Japanese from Zero and it's not taught in Japanese school, how do you learn it? We have created a course called Kansai Dialect from Zero. Not just me, but my friend from the Kansai area,
Ami,
and also my wife, who was born and raised in the Kansai area, and her friend Mika-san, and our longtime employee Kanako-san, who lives smack dab in the middle of the Kansai area, all helped us put together a 20 video course where we go through example after example on social media. We talk about the grammar behind it. We even bring up dialects that are individually part of the Kansai dialect and teach about the way that they are used. Not only do we talk about Kansai dialect, but we also talk about standard Japanese, because in order to understand Kansai dialect, we do have to learn that first, so there's a lot of review. If you're looking for a good boot camp course on Japanese and you already have some Japanese studies behind you, Kansai Dialect from Zero is a course that you definitely want to check out. I do want to warn beginners, if you're an absolute beginner, even though this is called Kansai Dialect from Zero, it is not Japanese from Zero. You should have already been through most of the Japanese from Zero materials before you get to Kansai Dialect from Zero, or at least you have to know some Japanese, because it will kick your ass if you don't. Wow, did I get older. 5 years ago seems like about 20 years ago. Anyway, that's it, guys. I hope you learned something about Hakata dialect, and I hope you join us over on FromZero.com and check out the really cool Kansai Dialect from Zero course. I don't even know if there's anything out there like that, so go check it out.
Fluent in 5, where we take 5 minutes out of your day and teach you Japanese.